great. Hopefully it will be, it's in progress. It's happening. Hey, Stacy, good morning. All
Morning.
right. Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are y'all?
Hey,
Good.
Stacey.
Hey, DeShawn. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Been so long.
I know.
I know. I can't wait to actually meet our directors in person. That'd be great. I want to see everybody. Hopefully this fall. I'm definitely going to try to meet some folks. Definitely Stacy, who's amazing. So let's get this started. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us today, DeShawn. I'm so excited to have you here at our Startup Coffee Social that we've been doing monthly since the beginning of the year. It's been going really well, and it's just very cool to just talk with really people local that are doing some cool things. So code of conduct, I'll leave this here really quick. We are an inclusive community dedicated to providing an empowering experience for everyone, and we will not tolerate any discrimination, of harassment of our members of any form. You all are more than welcome to go to our code of conduct page on WWCode for more information. For anyone that's new, I've seen all you faces before, so I really don't want to go over this mission and vision, but we're truly here to empower women in tech. And our vision is to have a diverse women representation as technical advisors, founders, VCs, board members, and software engineers. And so today, this series is really started to just connect with some folks in the startup world, business world, entrepreneur world, doing some really cool things. So I'm Brooke, by the way, your newest director, and I'm really, really excited to have DeShawn Brown here with us today. He's the co-founder and CEO of Coworks and Lithios apps. Here's his socials and websites if you want to connect with him. But first, I'm going to say welcome, DeShawn. How are you doing this morning?
Thank you. Thank you. I am doing well. Ready to roll bright and early. And yeah, it's good to be here. I'm super excited to be here.
Yes, thank you. I know you have so much going on lately, and I'm genuinely just really excited to just see what's happening on your side of the world. But first, in the icebreaker, I'd love to hear your side. Any great productivity hacks you found recently? And for the audience as well, feel free to drop it in the chat.
Yeah, well, first I want to co-sign your suggestion, which is the calendar time blocking. That is huge. I live and die by my calendar, and
Who doesn't?
we'll get to this. Yeah. And I recently started, maybe like a year or so ago, started using Calendly. For those that aren't familiar with Calendly, it's like you share your link and it really changes the game with like scheduling. And there's a bunch of different other options too. You can send someone your link, they can book you directly. You don't have to do the whole, when are you free? Okay, what times work for you? But the downside is that my calendar gets inflated with stuff that I didn't plan. And so that's become an issue. So I've had to, one, definitely time block, but also I've on and off tried, I think it's called Pomodoro, which is basically where you set a timer for some tasks that you want to do. And so you take like 25 minutes and you like take that time and you go in on a particular task. And then when that timer goes off, you can take like a quick break and then you either go to something else or you come back to it. So I'm a programmer by, I guess, training. And so when you're coding, it's really easy to like get sidetracked.
Stuck. Yeah, like really stuck and just like, dang, it's been 4 hours. Like, what happened?
Right. And for us, sometimes, there's like, different levels of criticality and priority, and everything needs to get done, of course. But, it's like, oh, yeah, I was going to do this thing, but then I spent 3 hours on this other thing. And it's really hard because, we appreciate that, but also like, if you can get better at prioritizing, it's better. So anyway, those are definitely some two tricks.
Yeah, that Pomodoro, I think that's like scientific based. There's a bunch of different apps and stuff out there for anyone interested in that. I just found out I use Calendly heavily as well. And adding in the buffers
Right.
is amazing. I never set those up. I didn't really understand it, but basically it will block out, say, 15 minutes before, after a meeting, so that no one else can actually book that time. And that's been back-to-back meetings are a no-go. Especially I have like 6 events I'm doing this week. Like, so between events, I don't want to go straight into a meeting or like have to leave a meeting and go straight into an event. Like that's no, you need to have a break. I see Joan said taking more 10-15 minute breaks. That is truly helpful. I used to, in the office, I used to say, I'm going out on my smoke break. I don't smoke, but I just thought that it was genuinely like truly a way to like disconnect. I would go down to the cafeteria, go say hi to a friend, and I would just my own way of like making sure I leave the desk often. But it really does help. So just take a walk around the house, go pick some weeds, I don't know, and just get back to it. It actually does like help break up the day. So thanks for that. Yes, let's get straight into it. I know that you have another company, Lithios app. I'm going to focus on Coworks today, but I would love to, hear a little bit about Lithios app as well. So what is Coworks for folks that don't know about it? And I'd love to hear about how it all happened with Techstars backing the company.
Yeah. So let's see. Coworks, we are a software as a service company. We've built a platform that is used to manage and experience co-working and flexible workspaces. So if any of you all are familiar with co-working spaces or are not familiar with co-working spaces, they're basically shared workspaces where you have short-term sort of flexible leases or offices, or you just have open space and you can kind of use the shared amenities, meeting space, etc. So this is pre-COVID, by the way, to contextualize. We launched in 2018 properly, I would say. And we've built this sort of all-in-one system that we sell directly to the managers and owners of these types of workspaces. And it just streamlines all of the sort of operational headaches of managing a shared workspace. So you can add all of your members and tenants. It handles recurring billing, conference room booking, event management, member management, resource management. It's got a lot of stuff. And then on the there's more the members in the space, so people who actually work in the space. And then they use our app to connect with each other, to book rooms, to see like what events are going on. So yeah, that's Coworks, and we've really expanded as well. It's not just co-working spaces; it could be any shared or flexible workspace. We've got some universities that use our app as well. So it's now more than ever, I think, a pretty exciting time. And as far as Techstars goes, I've been in the entrepreneurial world for quite some time. You mentioned Lithios, which is my first company. And Lithios is a mobile and web development agency that I started. I actually started it right out of college at NC State. But we do mobile design, mobile development, web design, web development. It's a lot of fun. And so that business is still going. And they're going strong, but I'm crazy and I decided to launch a second business. So I don't know if I particularly recommend that, but it is a lot of fun. And but as far as Techstars goes, yeah, so I've been following Techstars for a long time, just being in the tech world. And when we launched Coworks, we signed up HQ Raleigh. They've now rebranded to Raleigh Founded, and we started growing, here locally, and then we started expanding. We started getting some international folks, and I met the managing director of Techstars Atlanta. He was doing sort of like a road show, and again, this is pre-COVID, back when we were people traveled, which hopefully we'll get back to soon, but. Yeah, and it really wasn't even something I was thinking about, to be honest. It was something I knew about because I follow Techstars so heavily, but I was just so busy, heads down, running the business that it wasn't even. Sometimes you don't think about those things because you're just focused on, the next fire that you're trying to put out. But yeah, I met Dave, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, you should apply." And I was like, I don't know. But yeah, we ended up putting it together, and the timing worked out that we had just started getting some initial traction. And Techstars, for those that don't know, they're one of the biggest accelerator programs, tech accelerator programs in the world. I would say Y Combinator is probably the most popular one, but Techstars is I think right there. And yeah, they're really great because they have a national, global network actually. So they do a few different Techstars cohorts all over the world, and yeah, we really got. I think we were very fortunate that our vision of the world sort of resonated with Dave, and he decided to let us in, and we got backed by them, and we were sort of off to the races.
Yeah, that's so cool. Do you have a co-founder at Coworks?
Yes, I did end up bringing on a co-founder as well, Tanner Holloman, and so he is our CTO. He went to Techstars with us as well.
Cool. Very cool. That is amazing. Yeah. I'm just getting in, I feel like, the tech scene, and it's funny. It's like I worked at Capital One the past 3 years, and they're like, trying to change banking for good. And it's funny because they're like trying to be like a tech company. It's like, wait, there's
Mm-hmm.
still a bank. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very different than actually being in the startup world. So I'd love to know, this is a question I really got excited about. What do you have in the works for Coworks? We just heard that you raised almost $1 million. I saw that article and I was like, wait, did he raise more? Like, I know you were trying to get some more. I'd love to hear how you won. What'd you actually raise? And how'd you celebrate? That's amazing. Congratulations.
Yes, yes. Fundraising, man. It is brutal. Fundraising during a pandemic, also don't recommend. But it's yeah, we're really excited. So we had actually originally gone out to raise 750K, and we started right around January, February of 2020, which is awesome.
Great timing.
So, right when I was getting going, we'd actually started getting some, like, when you fundraise, you get a lot of no's first. I was finally starting to get a couple like yeses. We were starting to get some like offers on the table a little bit. And then it just kind of like, totally just everyone panicked. And so office space management, the team, extremely exciting. But we'll come back to that in a minute, because to me, it was actually going to do exactly what it ended up doing, which is sort of prove our vision of the world. But I'll fast forward, and yeah, we ended up passing that. We raised almost 900,000, and we've actually still got a couple more checks in the works here. I've got another call here after this, so we'll see. We already passed our goal, so we're good now. But we'll probably we might end up passing $1 million or getting right at it. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. So what's in the works is hiring. So I, with my original company, Lithio, so I bootstrapped that business, meaning we didn't take on any funding. It was all organic growth. And I'm extremely proud of that. And again, it's still going strong, and I hope it continues. But, it's a different type of growth when you grow organically. And, I realized very quickly with Coworks, being in the software as a service business, that we couldn't really run as fast as we wanted to go, especially coming out of Techstars, when they sort of shed light on all of the things that you can and should be doing. It really, we just really needed to move fast, and I knew timing was going to be important for us. So with this raise, it's really all about building our super team, hiring. I'm a big team person. I realized that about myself a long time ago, that I'm not a solo dev. I love team building, and I love pushing people. I love when other people that are smarter than me can come in and consistently impress me and wow me. And I'm always looking for that. And so, yeah, anyway, we are going to grow. We are already hiring. We've already hired. So
nice.
Yeah, we're building the super team so we can take over the world.
Ah, that's so great to hear. I mean, really, teams, is that's like the heart of it, right? It's like being able to actually have different ideas, not just your own. Like being a solo founder is great and all, but yeah, it's like bringing in those diverse ideas because you're going to get a better product at the end of the day. So
100%.
that's awesome. That's really cool to hear. And well, obviously, this was the huge question I had first of why this business, but really thinking about the pandemic and just how I'm interested to see how you guys survived. So, how you did during the pandemic, and then also why'd you get into this particular business? I know I just signed my co-working lease about a month ago, so like I can probably say it's probably good and definitely good now, but right, we all knew even before the pandemic that co-working was the future. I mean, there's so many studies out there to say that, but yeah, I'd love to hear how 2020 was specifically for you, and then just why you got into that business in the first place.
Yeah, really, really good question. So, I with co-working, my exposure to it started out just being as a, consumer of co-working. And so I went to NC State University, go Pack. And when I was there, my class was one of the first group of students to prototype this brand new space that they had opened called the Garage. And at the time, the Garage was just like this really tiny little suite with it was just like one room and like a little computer and a little office. And it was really, really small. It was kind of on the edge of campus. None of the buses made it out there. You had to just like get off at a stop and like walk a little ways. It was like just really, it was on the edge of Centennial campus, but it was really cool though, because it felt like this super exclusive, like, oh yeah, like nobody knows about this place. You had that key card access. So we all thought we were cool, but it was this entrepreneurial, it was their entrepreneurial workspace that they were prototyping. And I just happened to stumble upon this entrepreneurship class my freshman year that I ended up taking, which definitely changed the trajectory of my career because it exposed me to entrepreneurship really. But yeah, I joined the Garage, and really what it was though was a co-working space. Now this was way before that term was even like popular, but it was a bunch of other entrepreneurs, and we were all trying to start stuff. I was starting Lithios, but a lot of my peers that were there went on to start some significant companies here in the area. Here, living the life. And so that experience, it just left an impact on me. We were all there, we were all grinding, we were all like helping each other out. We had this workspace where everyone was there to build something. And it was just a whole lot different than trying to work out of the library or work in your dorm or something. It was just a totally different kind of energy. They had 3D printers and stuff. It was just, it really just, I think it pushed all of us to build our businesses. So fast forward, I was making Lithios in the real world, and then I needed office space. And I remember we were hustling, and we had signed a couple of people, and then I was like, okay, you know what, we're going to get an office and we're going to get downtown. And I ended up my mentor gave us a really, really good deal on this like extra suite that he had. So yeah, I thought we were big time. And like our employees came in, the first thing they said was like, oh yeah, like there's no sink. I was like, okay, what do you mean? Like, there's a desk, and they're just like, well, yeah.
Probably a woman that said that, like, hey, come on, guys.
Right.
Can we at least get a sink?
Yeah. They're like, well, how am I supposed to like wash my, mugs and stuff? And I was like, I don't know. I guess you have to go get some coffee from like a shop. I'm not sure. And so like, it was just like, but you don't think about those things, right? Like I was so happy we just got something like a roof. And so, you just really don't think about those other little things. So, and then we had to get our own Wi-Fi, we had to get our own furniture, and it was just like all these other little things. Like all I cared about was like having a place with a key that we could like huddle up in, right?
Yeah.
But that sort of, so I sort of went through that pain point of being a business owner and having to go through all that. So co-working just made sense to me because I didn't want to spend my time doing all those little things when we just, like figuring out how to set up a Wi-Fi cable and all this other stuff, when we just needed to go out and, I wanted to build team culture. I wanted to focus on our work. And so that sort of style of, for me, I found HQ Raleigh after that. And it just brought me back to the garage and my time there. And I was like, this is the way to work. And it made a huge impact on my team, like their morale went up. So yeah, I kind of knew it was the future of work. And this is right when WeWork was starting to sort of scale and blow up. And so, yeah, that's what sort of originally piqued my interest. And then actually sort of ending that part of the story, right around that time in Raleigh in particular, we saw a big explosion of co-working spaces. So HQ Raleigh, which again, they're now Raleigh founded, they were here, and there was American Underground, but really there wasn't anything else. And then right in one summer, like the loading dock opened up and like 5 or 6 other spaces all opened up at the same time. And that, anytime as an entrepreneur, you see a 0 to 100 moment like that, it's always something that I feel like you should take a look at. I'm always interested in like, why are these things popping up? Even stuff like cryptocurrency, when it first started coming up, I'm like, what is Bitcoin? Like, you have to like, these things really catch your attention. And so, I started studying it and I became obsessed with it clearly. And that's what sort of motivated. I became convinced this is the future of workspace, and I saw an opportunity in help using technology to really accelerate the industry, because what I found was these were people, ordinary people, great people who were just building communities. And it was either like real estate folks or community builders, and they were opening these spaces and people were coming in. And then I like peeled back the curtain and they were just, manually doing it all, like paper checks and, pen and paper sign-in systems. Like they were using 20 different systems. Like these are not like office manager graduates or something. I don't even know if that's like a career path, but like, like these are just people who wanted to build awesome spaces. So, they just weren't doing it efficiently, and, no offense to them because they were doing an incredible job. But like, I saw that we could use software to help them not have to focus on the, painful operations pieces, and actually enable and empower them to do what they do best, which is build community.
Yes.
And so that's what we set out to do. And, it's an interesting question about 2020 because, we were fresh out of Techstars, we were raising our round. We finally had like some traction and momentum. I bootstrapped Coworks, up to that point. But it was not as easy as I thought it was going to be, hence the eventual fundraise. It's just a different kind of business than a services business. And we came out and we were like, full of all this energy. We had Techstars behind us. And I was like, cool, like we're finally going to be able to do it. And then COVID hits, everyone goes home, and everyone says, the co-working industry is finally going to die. And, it was just a fad the whole time. And, doom and gloom. And so, and it was funny because too, I would go talk to investors pre-COVID and they were just like, yeah, I don't really see it. I don't really get it. The market's small. Isn't WeWork just going to own this whole market? Which now is funny because
the documentary is pretty great.
Right. They had a pretty epic crash and burn. They're still doing, they're still there. And I actually have a lot of respect for WeWork because the growth that they made was incredible. But, they did have a pretty insane founder, which is not a good look. I just got a lot of no's because these are like, people who don't, like, if you've never been in a co-working space and you have your own private office or you have your own like home office, and again, this is pre-COVID, then like you don't really see what's happening in the rest of the world because you don't have those needs. So the people I was talking to, they hadn't, built companies in a long time. These are just, what I'm saying? Like, so they didn't even know like how office space was like, and the commercial real estate world was changing. Yeah. So it was kind of tough actually pre-COVID. And then during COVID, shut down all of our investor talks. Basically, everyone was terrified to write checks, especially in that industry. But then a funny thing happened to us as a company though. We stopped doing sales and we were like, prepare for the worst. But first of all, we had 0 churn during 2020. We didn't lose a single customer to COVID. And secondly, we grew 40%. We actually had a
Wow.
bunch of people reach out to us. And what we found was COVID sort of exposed all those people who were still getting away with like manual spreadsheets and doing things manually. They needed a platform. And that's what we do. We provide a platform not just to help managers streamline their operations, but also to put all of their members in one place and give them a platform to communicate with them, that's not, based on physicality. And
Yeah.
so now all these managers and operators are like, hey, like we can't speak to our members, like our community is gonna like go, like we have to do something to continue to survive. And so they needed Coworks more than ever. And so people started
Wow.
using our platform to send weekly emails and to do virtual events and to show like policies. Then, oh, by the way, we ended up having a contactless solution, which became a big buzzword, but we just built an app. But like, but yeah, it was contactless. But seriously, you can walk into the space, you can use the app to open the doors. So the doors can be locked, but you can permission people straight through Coworks, which is something we've always done.
Wow.
You can book rooms directly through your phone. You don't have to touch anything. You can check in. You can message people in the app. So yeah, we really did build a contactless solution.
That is
So,
actually amazing. And I'm a community manager, and I could say I could use that, right? Because I'm using
right.
20 million different systems,
Yep.
Slack, member space, like
Exactly.
Postmates, like to do all these different things. And I just want to connect with people. Like we're not
Right.
even doing email right now. We have a thriving community, but like
Right.
I can't even think about doing email, like, because I'm like, where do I even go to do that and
Right.
easily connect with the 400 founders of my community?
Right.
That's awesome. That's really great to hear, because that is what's needed for a community manager who's ever managing that space. It's like one solution
Right.
to manage everyone,
Yeah.
easily reach out. Slack's great, obviously,
Right.
but like all in one space to connect them and know that, hey, you see an email from, Brooke from here, like
Right.
it's actually a serious email.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh
And
wow.
and then we even were able to, start giving people insights into occupancy. And so that became a huge thing. Like how many people are in the space? A lot of times there was like hard, caps on, the amount of people who can be in there and capacity.
Ah.
These are things that we were already doing, that we were trying to explain why it was important. But the pandemic sort of forced people like it why a software can empower you to better manage your space and connect with your members, and just again give you the platform to do it. So that was interesting. And then about halfway through the pandemic, the investors kind of started to finally click, as well, because what it really exposed to them, their biggest pushback for us was just like, oh well, corporate offices are, just always going to be around, and they just are what they are. Why would they ever do co-working? And This is no joke. The first slide in my slide deck pre-COVID, this was something I found out and researched. Like during Techstars, they really coach you in telling a story and getting to the why, when you're talking about fundraising. And when I was like, really trying to figure out why does co-working, like, why do I think it's special? Why is it the future? And like, sure, it's great. It's like a better way to work and all that cool, fun stuff. But like, what's the like underlying root, like, transitional like impetus? And to me, it was remote work. And like literally the first slide in my slide deck, pre-COVID, was a stat around remote work. So when I just like went all the way back and said like, what has allowed co-working to exist? It was one, technology, and I'm probably biased on that because I think technology has, like enabled a lot of things, but I really do think it has. Technology doesn't create, like behavior, but it does accelerate it tremendously. Um,
Mhm.
and so it's like, okay, technology, and the reason being, now that you can do virtual meetings, you can do, you can message people anywhere. All you need is a laptop. So technology has enabled people to then work wherever they want. Technically, I used to work at a bank actually, where I had to be on site. It was a Swiss bank, and I don't know if you all know the sort of stereotype of a Swiss bank, but they're very private and secretive, and they hold
No.
all of the big rich people's money. And so I was on the technical side, and like literally they would like I had to be in the office to log into my like physical desktop. They could have done virtual, but they chose not to. So yeah, so like, but most people don't have that kind of limitation. Like most people's jobs, they can work anywhere. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
to me, that had a trickle down effect on office space and the value prop of an office changing from a place that you have to go, like me at a Swiss bank, to a place that, you know, you either are forced to go to because your boss says so, but there's no real good reason, or you want to go there, right? And so that I think was what enabled co-working. So anyway, long story, but that
Yeah.
slide didn't resonate pre-COVID. And then 6 months into the pandemic, that same slide that I didn't change at all in any way, now all of a sudden I'm
Ah.
being called a genius. Or like, oh, that's genius. This is great. Like the timing is incredible. Like glad that you used the pandemic to like figure this out. And I was like, actually, this is like I've
The
always been
same.
saying
I've
this.
always said this.
And like even the same people that I had talked to previously, are you still raising that money? And I'm like, no. So just kidding. I said yes because we needed the money. But
Obviously,
yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, it was a bit weird, and so we went through this like roller coaster of like, oh cool, we're doomed. This was a stupid industry to pick, and then also, oh nope, we're geniuses. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
it was a weird time. You know, again, hope we don't have to ever do that again. But you know, I think we certainly made the best of it.
Yes, I love that story in the background there, just because I'm obsessed with co-working spaces, and I do find there's so much power in them in the community that it's very like it's better, it's even better.
Yeah.
And what I love is everyone really kind of looks out for each other, and it's like I've gotten business, you know, just like hanging out in the kitchen, you know, just hanging with people, and it's like everyone helps each other. Everyone has their own businesses and they're doing their own thing. But they're like, oh, great, you're a web designer. Like, let's talk. You know, it's that things wouldn't happen. And they could happen in your work office, but in a co-working space is so different. Just knowing that they have access to you right there, but also just like, it's so much fun because everyone is grinding and doing some really cool things.
Sure.
I know you're a builder and you're a maker. You have your degree in computer science. And so I had to ask this. I would love to know how you built Coworks and the back end of it.
Sure. Yeah. So we have a few different pieces. So we have our sort of manager admin dashboard. And so we actually built a pretty popular JavaScript language right now. And so that's that piece. I'm actually a native mobile developer at heart. My first love was iOS development. That's like, I think the first language that I would consider myself like an expert in. And so I used to just build all the iOS apps. So we do have native mobile apps as well in Swift for iOS and Java, Kotlin for Android. So that's our primary stack. And then our backend's actually Rails. So yeah, and we've got a few other things. We've got some cool like microservices and some other pretty sneaky things on the back end, but those are our core stacks.
Nice. Did you actually make it yourself, or did you like get some help or outsource the work as you were starting out?
I always find a way to get help. Again, I sort of realized a long time ago that I can try to build everything myself and never sleep another day in my life, or I can try to get some help. So yeah, I definitely I built a lot of the original foundations of the iOS app and the API, and then brought in some help for the Android, brought in some help for the sort of initial React, and then yeah, just sort of kept patching it along until we were able to get some proper help to help build those things out. So yeah, I've certainly played a big role and written a lot of code, but I also certainly had a ton of other people come in and execute my vision. I think where I really tried to maintain control over this project was the design and the direction and the features of the product. So I'm the product owner, but I've reached a point
Yeah.
in my career where I don't need to code the whole thing.
Yeah. No, it's like you have the vision, like that's what you do best, and you made it come to life. So it's delegating at its finest, founder. So we're
And
gonna
I
switch.
don't claim to be the best coder of all time either. So
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna switch gears, and I just want to learn more about you. We have like 10 minutes, and I want to like probably skip a couple of these questions, but
I'll try to be quick too.
yeah, I want to learn more about you. And I know you're hiring right now. You guys are trying to finish up raising, but I would want to know like what's the truly most challenging aspect of your job today? Like today, May 25th, like what are you struggling with?
That picture, by the way, is super accurate. That GIF there, pretty much every day. Yeah, no, I mean,
The life of a co-founder.
for sure. And that's the thing, as a founder, like it's there's always a different fire to put out. That's part of the fun. But I'd say, yeah, most challenging aspects right now, definitely hiring right now is just it's very brutal. The market right now is it's very tough to find good talent, and it's even harder to afford good talent. And that's great for talent. I think if you're someone who is talented looking for a job, then that's awesome, and I'm happy for that. But yeah, not great for me right now because I got to find them. But that's tough. And then I would say, time management is also for me particularly. It's not actually normally been like the worst problem for me, but right now it's definitely tough, especially coming out of COVID where things were a little bit quieter. And yes, I was fundraising nonstop, but I don't know. I sort of got a cadence and a groove, and like I knew what was going to happen day to day. Now it's weird because like we have funding and we have stuff to do. Crap,
You're
like,
just kind of like, oh wow, we did it. Now what?
yeah, it's like now I have to like find the time to like, before it was like this, nothing else mattered. So I was like singularly focused on that. Now, like we've got capital, but I have to like go deploy it. And so there's like 25 different things that we said we were going to use the money for. It. So I can't do all 25 things at one time. So it's like making tiny little progress on each one. So I'm just trying to like pick up the pace and get the gears like really spinning, because right now we're just kind of slowly pushing the wheel. So
yeah, it doesn't help too that it's summertime, and like I straight up am like, oh, it's so nice outside, like let me go to the beach, let me go to hike, like just get out of this house. Like I'm like, all of our boxes are in the garage. I'm like, they can stay there. I mean, I got the essentials. I've been living here for 2 weeks with basically nothing, right? It's fine. I'm like, I want to enjoy my summer. So I think the timing too of things opening up,
travel and
it's it's kind of makes it hard to like focus sometimes. But that's really interesting. I think you kind of already touched on this, but just 2020, right, was rough for everyone. And like personally, I learned a lot about myself and just what does self-love and self-care really look like. What does that mean, right, for me actually being able to get my work done, foster my relationships with folks that I haven't been able to see, my family, friends, right? I'd love to know like what you learned about yourself during the pandemic.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that a few things. I think it helped me learn how much I do feed off the energy of other people. I'm not like a super extrovert, but like I'm also not a planner. So I have some friends that they're like every weekend is booked, every day is booked. They're always hanging out with people. I am much more of like go in between. Like I just need to lock myself in a room and like get something done. Like I'm trying to code something, trying to build something. So I'm very like goal oriented. And so in that regard, it was great because I could just sort of, laser focus. But I think the missing part is I do feed off of, it goes back to that, like I love building teams and things like that. So I think I definitely learned about just like how the energy of other people affects me. And obviously Zoom and everything like that is great, but Yeah, I think, that also
Yeah.
gets a bit old after a while, but yeah, I
It,
think that's something I learned to appreciate more is the
yeah.
energy that I feed off of other people.
Yeah. I mean, we're human. So I think a lot of folks had like finally snapped out of it and was like, oh, like I actually need human interaction to like even be happy. Like I actually can't stand behind this computer like for the next so many years or like,
Correct.
yeah, like they have to actually physically see people other than, my partner and our dog. So
Right. Right. In
lots of
doses, though.
in doses. Yeah. I think that's why I like the co-working space I got because there wasn't a lot of folks there. Probably like a couple of people would be in there a day. So it was like perfect for just like small, short, quick interactions. And also trying to be safe and mindful that I'm not around so many folks. But yeah, I'd love to know like what do you do for fun, like that you just like when you're not running two businesses and trying to fundraise, right? Like what do you actually do in your spare time?
Well, spare time is not a real thing for me. Yeah. This is this. I The honest truth is, I actually started getting into music. I am actually I used to do a lot of theater growing up, and then in college, I started getting into music a little bit and like
Nice.
writing and performing and like doing that whole thing. And then I, became an entrepreneur and stopped both doing acting and music and anything. But yeah, I, especially during 2020, sort of really fell in love with music and making it and writing it and recording it. And so,
Very cool.
yeah, it's definitely allows me to, it's one of the few things that can help me like really just get out of the startup mind and like get back in the creative stuff. So yeah, it's been fun.
I love that. I love music too. So if you want to share any good music, like obsessed with some good jazz music, just working like focused music, um, good, just breaking up the day with productivity. Music helps me get into the focus. So I'd love to know, are you from North Carolina?
Yeah,
Or
so
okay, I thought so.
I'm originally from Greensboro, North Carolina. And then, yeah, I went to NC State for college, and then I've been in Raleigh ever since. So Raleigh's definitely home now. And yeah, so I am a North Carolina guy.
I know. I'm really excited to learn more about North Carolina. I moved here in the pandemic and excited now to actually like learn about it and explore. I really, really enjoyed it so far for the little things I've done.
We just went to the mountains this past weekend in Asheville. So,
I've heard a lot about Asheville.
yeah,
Okay.
got to make it to Asheville. We've got the beaches. So yeah, you got plenty to do for sure.
Yeah, it's the perfect little spot, close to everything. I would like to know, like, what made you interested in technology? Before you got you went to NC State. What like said I'm going to go there for computer science.
That's a really good question. And like I definitely didn't grow up thinking that I wanted to be in technology or a coder or any of that stuff. I didn't even go to college thinking that, right? So I mentioned just a second ago, I was actually heavily involved in like theater growing up. And like I was always writing or acting. I did a lot of sports and stuff too, but I just was also really good at math and science. And I was just very curious, and I wanted to build stuff. And I think I really where that came from is my mom is very she has a very short attention span, I think, sometimes when it comes to like career. So like she's always like doing something different. Like she would just like, what, I think I want to be this now. And she would like literally change her whole career like path. Like she was in the mortgage business for a while. And then she was like, she opened up her own thing, and then she wanted to do bed and breakfast, and then she wanted to be like, I don't,
That's
yeah. So
amazing.
yeah, so she was like an entrepreneur, but I don't think she really knew like that, like what a real like entrepreneur is. Like I think she was just like she just saw something, she wanted to do it. So,
That's
but then my dad,
awesome.
on the
Yeah.
other hand, my dad like worked the same job 20 years, like
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom. So I feel like I kind of got sort of in between where I was like curious about stuff, but I also wanted to be proficient at something. And so I was just like, I don't know, I was very interested in, and then the creative side of me, like I just wanted to build something and I didn't know what that was going to be. Or like my sister, she's like an artist, like an actual, paintbrush. She's like, I can't color in the line. And, you know, so I was like, cool, well, I'm not gonna be able to use my hands to do this, but I don't know, maybe I can figure it out. So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, then I guess I just like wanted to figure out a way to blend that math and science piece too, which I was good at, but I didn't love, but I was good at it. And find a way to use that, but in a creative way, and then build something. And
That literally sounds like me. Like I just was like 12-year-old, like coding and design, in my bedroom, just like making flyers and like, but like just like it was so much fun designing, but also on the flip side, coding. It's just like I get to build and like
right,
design and make things look quote unquote pretty, which I try not to say anymore. But it's just like it's truly it's just like doing whatever I wanted to do,
yeah,
especially at the dot-com boom, it's just kind of like, wow, like I can do whatever I want on this computer. Like I can
sure,
make these websites and apps. Like
for sure.
awesome. Yeah, it's so much fun. I love that you just were like, I'm gonna blend the two, and that's really what it is. It's just zeros and ones, yes, but it's also it's so much fun and very creative and outlet for sure.
Definitely.
So really quick, we'll wrap up with this. I'd love to know if you're listening to anything lately, reading any books that are really good you want to share with the community.
Yeah, I am a big fan of the How I Built This podcast with Guy Raz, and he just interviews entrepreneurs, and I always love hearing people's stories. I love watching artists talk about how they wrote their songs and how people create. Sometimes it's just purely accidental. Sometimes it's very purposeful. So. I like to just like, yeah, hear about people's creative process. And that's what sort of keeps me interested. So that's probably my top podcast. And then I haven't read any good books lately, but I'm trying to get back into that. I did get the Obama's autobiography that he wrote.
Nice.
And that was an interesting read for sure. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I love podcasts. So thank you for sharing that. I want to open up the floor for anyone if you have any questions for DeShawn. I'd love to feel free to come off mic, drop it in the chat. Stacy mentioned she was really curious to see how remote and flex work sticks around.
Mhm.
I think it's definitely going to stick around and be very different. And I think lots of businesses are going to be creative and letting their employees have those flexibility. So I think it's going to be really cool to see what it looks like on the flip side of the pandemic.
Yeah, and I think that was actually something that really got the investors on track. Is they were that was that initial pushback, is they didn't see big corporate companies allowing flexible work because they just didn't have to. And we said like it was going to happen one way or another because of remote work. And I think now what we're finding is the age old reason was people won't be productive from home and the businesses will collapse, right? Well, that didn't happen. Certainly, we have various degrees of productivity. I think we can all admit at our house, but the fact of the matter is, the businesses that screamed the loudest were the ones that did just fine, and in fact did great.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are a lot of businesses that do certainly rely on people going in, and people in the service world, and we love those people, but. Yeah, so that excuse though isn't like you can't use it anymore. Like we have data to show that it's just literally not true. So now I think what we're finding is a lot of employers are faced with now if you don't want to allow remote work or flex work, it's because you just straight up don't want to, and like
Yes.
you have to die
Yes.
on that sword, and you can, but I think you'll find that employees are going to be like, that's lame, and they'll go somewhere else.
No, and that's exactly what happening. My friend, she's a paralegal, and their law firm opened back up, but they were sending folks back in waves. And she was the only like paralegal in the office with a bunch of lawyers. Just the way the wave worked out, she was in the first one, and all the lawyers were literally just like printing out all this stuff, like yelling her name through the office, like, and she's not even like their like paralegal, and she's just like, we worked remotely for over a year. Why are you printing out all this stuff? Why are you just yelling my name? Like, what is happening? And it's just so interesting. She's just like, yeah, like, am I going to go somewhere else? I mean, obviously they're lawyers, so they're very like old school, but she's just like, we did it, we did do it, and we were fine.
So what we think is going to happen is certainly I actually think that the home-based office plays a critical role in any company's development and success. So our view of the future is that people will either get the option to work fully remote, but then those people will sign up for co-working spaces because people don't necessarily want to be in their bedroom for the rest of their life, you know what I mean? So, but they want the flexibility to do what they want, and co-working is the perfect medium because it's cheap, it's, flexible. You can have either just a place to set up or your own private office, and you can work remotely, and it's great. And then on the corporate side, people will go have home-based offices, but I think what we're seeing is a lot of these big companies reducing their corporate footprint, going into flex work and accommodating both in-person and remote people. And so from a building standpoint, instead of having one desk per person, you maybe have a building that can fit, 60% of your workforce because 50% of your workforce is remote. So you'll never have everyone there at the same time. So then co-working, they'll either turn their office into a co-working type space, which they could use our system to manage that style of shared office, or they'll, put their people in co-working spaces themselves and use those as like satellite locations. So anyway, that's kind of the future. And so that's why we think at the end of the day, flexible work, which is really our industry, co-working is like our specific thing right now, but really flex work is the problem we're trying to solve for. We don't think it's going to go away.
Yeah. It's definitely not. I mean, I was at Capital One the past 3 years, and honestly, they had these co-working type entrepreneur flex spaces already, and they were so amazing. And we all had laptops that already created this environment for that flexibility. And it was just genuinely amazing, right? Like, I'm not feeling great today. I'm not super sick, but I want to stay home. I don't want to get anyone else sick. If I am sick, it was just, it just makes so much sense for your employees, right? Overall, like work-life happiness of just being like, cool, I didn't have to use a sick day, right? Like, let's just get rid of sick days. Why? I don't get sick now, because I'm able to manage it. I can stay home and still work. But Joan asked a great question. She works at a university. She said, how are universities using your co-working app?
Yeah, absolutely. So NC State University is a customer of ours, and that garage space that I mentioned at the beginning of the sort of story here, to do a nice little callback full circle moment, that space evolved and is now a 20,000 square foot student innovation center that the university has built and partnered with local companies to have a presence in those spaces, and then the students get that space. So it is literally now a true co-working space on campus. And again, when I was there, it was just a tiny little suite. So it's cool to see that full circle. And now they're a customer of Coworks. So really, really great story. That means a lot to me, just being in that original sort of cohort. And now they're a customer. So they use Coworks to manage that space. So they have like, a maker space. So students can use like 3D printers and, sewing machines and all kinds of different stuff, laser cutters, and they use Coworks to sort of check out and reserve and use that space. There's conference rooms. They use Coworks to book those rooms. They use Coworks to manage their students of entrepreneurs who have signed up, and everything from like the application. Like we even have sign up forms that you can customize, and it'll put people in our little CRM piece, and you can add them in as members and put them on teams. Then they get a student directory out of it. So yeah, they use it in a lot of ways, but yeah, they're truly using Coworks to sort of manage that. And we're seeing a lot of universities invest in entrepreneurship, in student sort of innovation centers. Like that's what a campus really is, if you think about it, just like class space and office and sort of workspace for students. And with a lot of more classes being more virtual, there's a lot more opportunity to focus on student workspace, student innovation space, beyond just like a library, but like actually activating a space. But it's not easy to do, and you need a tool to do it. So that's what we offer. So we actually think universities is going to be a huge piece for us. We're already talking to several other big universities that I can't necessarily mention, but we'll hopefully be able to mention soon because they'll be fully signed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So, Joan, but would love to get your info and chat more about that if you've got any ideas or relations with any universities.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Caitlin had a question, and we'll wrap it up here. I know we're at 9 a.m. Thank you, everyone, for holding space. Do you see co-working spaces offering an on-demand as opposed to a monthly, yearly type subscription?
That's a great question. The short answer is yes, and it's actually it's a model that I didn't really understand in the beginning, but when we launched our product, we didn't have a feature to support that, but we got into New York and San Francisco and these high density areas, and then realized that there was an opportunity for that model, and people started asking us for that. So we're actually like building features in Coworks to directly support that. But I also think post pandemic now, certainly it's an option that a lot of people who may work remote, and then still want that drop in space, that becomes a really enticing option. So yeah, short answer is yes. Now I just think that model is tricky unless you've got density. So otherwise, from a co-working space standpoint, it's not as effective because they want to obviously fill up their space with recurring revenue as much as they can. But yes, I think, yeah, in Coworks, we offer right now a couple ways to do that. So I think that's going to be a big part for sure.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, DeShawn, for joining us this morning. I have your socials here. Is there a better way to connect with you if anyone wants to offline?
Yeah, I'm gonna drop my email in here, so you guys can always shoot me a note. Actually, do you have my email up there?
I don't. That's a great. Please drop it, and I'll make sure to share it with folks too.
It's just
Cool.
DeShawn at coworksapp.com. So, well, nope, I spelled it wrong. Wow. Ignore that. It's DeShawn at Coworks app, like our website.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
DeShawn at
Awesome.
coworksapp.com. There you go.
There we go. No S. Cool. Thank you, DeShawn. I really appreciate it. I definitely will be reaching out with questions. I already had so many just now. I'm like, wow, like I'd love to see if there's like nonprofit co-working spaces, like, that gives something back to the community. Like, I think
Yep.
there's just so much room, especially nowadays, with how we're going. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll be chatting
Thank
soon.
you.
Maybe we'll have you back after we do some hiring in the fall.
Absolutely. And thank you everyone who joined today as well. Awesome questions. Yeah, please feel free to reach out anytime. I'm here in Raleigh, so or virtually, it doesn't matter. So yes, great to talk with all of you, and thank you, Brooke, for inviting me.
Of course, of course. Everyone have a great day. Thank you for your time. Have a good week. See you
Awesome.
guys.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody. Bye, DeShawn. Good to
Bye.
see you.
Yeah.